Hey there, Justen Overlander here. So excited that Noah has asked me to be a part of the Against the Tide media group. I will be doing some interviews coming up here, and I have kind of an insider track, I guess. Since I am an associate producer on The Chosen, I will be able to give you some insight that maybe nobody else can. And I'm just excited that Noah is bringing me on the team. He's assembling quite the group of people that love Jesus and want to advance the kingdom. And I'm actually out here in God's country right now. I feel closer to God when I'm in nature and out here on the water, in the tide, I guess. No, I'm on a lake. There's no tide in lakes. But I guess this metaphor isn't going to work, but I'll go with it anyway. Here I am on the water, going with the tide, just letting the wind carry me wherever it is, and I'm going to do a little introduction here for you. I've been asked a few times what my favorite scene is in The Chosen, and I have two favorites. The favorite scene to watch is Jesus' redemption of Mary in episode 1. That just brings me to tears even still when I watch it. This idea that Jesus meets us where we are, and that there's nothing you can do that can separate from his love, and that he will come find you.
Mary of Magdala.
My favorite scene, though, from the production side, when we were on set shooting The Wedding of Cana, it was actually the last night of filming season 1. And it was the middle of the night, and we were just, there were a bunch of background actors on set that day, that middle of the night. And most of our principal actors were there. And we were just partying and having a good old time with me counting down the music and just doing all this dancing and stuff. And really, 3-4 o'clock in the morning, it was just such a joyous experience. And I know Dallas has commented on this before too, saying that is one of his favorite moments on set. And that's culminating a 20-year career in the film industry. So that says something. And I have to agree with Dallas. That was just a wonderful, wonderful experience on set. And I think the finished product, the joy comes through in episode 5, The Wedding at Cana. But a particularly meaningful moment for me was just being on set capturing those scenes. Noah asks if Against the Tide has introduced me to The Chosen or helped me understand The Chosen a little bit more. And the easy answer for me would be to say no, because I have been involved in The Chosen for longer than Against the Tide media has been around. However, there is something that Noah and his team has done for me that has been really eye-opening. Just the passion that Noah has and the passion that some of the other members that I've interacted with have had. I did a Zoom call with Darren and Tim, Steve Shermett, and Noah. Now, Steve and I met on set a while ago, so I had a little bit more of a history with him. But just conversing with Darren and Tim and Noah and just learning how passionate they are about The Chosen, but not only that, how passionate they are just about Jesus is really exciting for me. So has Against the Tide helped me understand The Chosen a little better? I think yes, it's helped me connect more with the fans that are really, really passionate about the show. Do I have a favorite Against the Tide interview? Honestly, it might be Giovanni's, and not necessarily because of the content. I love Giovanni and I love the interview, but I don't want to rank him above anybody else. that was the first one. And it made me see what Noah's passion was. It introduced me to Darren.
There you go.
Who I think did a phenomenal job with the interview. And it was exciting for me to see, hey, because marketing is part of my gig. And it was great to see somebody else passionate about the Chosen wanting to get the word out there a little bit more about it. So Giovanni Cairo's interview, the very first interview that Against the Tide Media put out there, ranks still as my favorite Against the Tide Media interview.
Got a notice of a phone call, and it won't go away. I don't think it's dang it.
My all-time favorite movie actually is The Great Outdoors, and I think you can kind of see why. It's not necessarily because it's the greatest movie ever made, but I love the scenery in it, and it is actually very, very funny. It was written by John Hughes, who is very well known for The Breakfast Club, 16 Candles, movies like that, but he also wrote National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. And if you watch National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation and The Great Outdoors through the lens of knowing that the same person wrote them, you can see it's very similar structure, and it's very similar humor too, but I'll take the scenery in The Great Outdoors over winter any day of the week. So The Great Outdoors, my all-time favorite movie, and I'm sticking with that, and I'm not ashamed to admit that. I laugh in episode 7, believe it or not, the Jesus and Nico scene, which is not a comical scene, of course. It's a very heart-wrenching scene. Eric Ari does a masterful job of delivering a humorous line in the moment when he says, I feel like I'm standing on holy ground. And he's just breaking down, and he's sobbing, and he's emotional, and everybody is emotional watching that. And then he kind of looks down and says, well, holy roof. Anyway.
Holy roof.
Because that's me. That's my personality, is when I am very, very emotional, whether it be anger or sadness or anything. I am an emotional person, and so one of my emotions is humor. Humor is an emotion for me, and I try to battle some of those darker emotions by bringing some levity to it. So if I'm angry, I'll try to tell a joke. If I'm sad, I'll try to bring up a joke. And I thought at that moment, and the way that Eric Avari as Nicodemus did that line was just perfect. And I cry, I laugh cry, I ugly cry at that. And so it turns into a song. It's very, very embarrassing, and I will never do that again as long as I live. Well, Noah tends to ask some deep questions that could lead to a 6-hour response, but for the sake of this interview, I'll keep it on 5.5 hours. Noah may cut it down just a little bit. I'll give you good moments to edit. So, how has God impacted my life? How has the love of God been made evident? Again, I'll go back to just nature. Here I am on the water of a lake here in northern Minnesota in the summer, which is my favorite place to be ever. Even when I lived in Los Angeles, I said I would rather be on a lake in June, July, or August than anywhere else. Now it's the rest of the months up here in Minnesota that I don't love so much. So basically November through April, I loved Los Angeles like you wouldn't believe. But here in nature, like this, just seeing all the green around me, the blue water, the blue sky with clouds. We had some major storms come through yesterday, but even that, the beauty in a good lightning storm, even when a tornado warning is coming through, there's just something about, and maybe I pray more during those times, just saying, God, please keep my family safe. If you lift up my house, please have it land on one of the witches of this world. No, I love everybody, even the witches. So has the love of God impacted me? Yes. I mean, he has blessed me with an opportunity to spend summer up here in northern Minnesota. He has blessed me with an opportunity to be doing a career that I love, that I feel like I am gifted in doing. You know, the worst day on, even when I was in doing really, really low budget things, even, significantly lower budget than The Chosen, independent projects, I still said to my cast and crew, the worst day on set is still better than the best day doing pretty much anything else. Now, this is the exception where I'm at right now and what I'm doing right now, but we all have to work, we all have a job to do, and I do not take for granted just how blessed I am and how fortunate. I've worked hard to get to where I'm at, don't get me wrong, but I also recognize fully that I don't deserve it. It's not that I'm more talented than anybody else. It's not that I've worked harder than any number of people that would trade places with me in a heartbeat. But I recognize that God has given me a gift. A number of gifts that lend itself well to a project like The Chosen, and maybe other projects down the road too. So the love of God is showing itself big time in just where I'm at in my career. And we as adults put a lot of our identity into our career. I don't necessarily agree with it, but it's one of the key talking points of small talk. Here in Minnesota, we'll talk about the weather first and foremost, maybe the Twins, maybe the Vikings, and then some politics if you're really adventurous. But inevitably, when you meet somebody, one of the first questions is, so what do you do? And my answer is, I want to answer, well, I pray and I try to take care of my kids and try to love my wife. But that seems kind of snarky. So, we answer what our career is, what our job is. And so there is a lot of identity in what we do as a career. So my identity is in the film industry. And I don't take that for granted. I'm so thrilled and so honored and also understand that it could be taken away from me at any given moment. My kayak could flip over and I could not make it to the shore. But I just know that where I'm at right now is only by the grace of God, only through His love, only through His providence do I even have the ability to be out here using all four limbs, looking with my eyes, talking with my voice, breathing with my lungs. There are people that can't do any number of those things. And so for me to be able to do it, and to be able to do it in a career that I love, I don't know what else to say about that. When it comes to my view of Jesus, I don't know that I view Jesus any differently. After Jonathan's portrayal, even Jim Caviezel's portrayal, or any of the portrayals that I've seen on screen, which isn't a ton. I'm not as versed in Bible media as some people are. And that's not to take anything away from Jonathan. I think his performance is brilliant, and he is embodying what I picture Jesus to be, but I already had that vision of him. Now, physically, is that what I thought he looks like, what I think he looks like? I don't think about that a lot. I really don't. I don't care if Jesus is white like me, olive-skinned like Jonathan, black like Kanye. I have no care whatsoever what Jesus looks like physically. If he's good looking, bad looking, 4 feet tall, 10 feet tall, none of that matters to me at all. It's his heart. And I know that what Jesus is far more important than what he looks like. So physical appearance, there's nothing that any actor portraying Jesus on screen has influenced me one bit or another. Some of the reactions Jonathan has had, the way his tears can well up just out of joy. He has a lot of joyful tears in his performance, and that is how I picture Jesus reacting, is just joy and appreciation and love. Even in his redirection, even in his scolding, even in his reprimanding, it's all done out of love. And that's what I try to do as a father, as a teacher, as somebody that can have influence, I try to always approach every situation, even when it's redirection, in a manner of love, and not ridicule, and not put people down, and not criticize just for the sake of being critical, but criticize for the sake of raising the bar and putting a higher standard out there. Because I do believe that we are called for a higher standard than most of us is living, myself included. So that's a very, very long way of answering that question. I don't think talent or creativity is different amongst believers and non-believers. I don't think that plays a factor at all. I think God gifts us with the gifts that He wants to gift us with, and then it's our decision whether we want to acknowledge that those gifts are from Him or not.
Story sounds familiar.
So when it comes to the set like The Chosen, where we have believers and non-believers working together, I don't pay any attention to it. I truly don't. It doesn't matter to me what your faith background is. I'm going to treat you the same. I'm not going to spout scripture at you. I'm not going to tell you that if you don't repent, you're going to hell. I'm not going to tell you that you're doing it wrong. I'm going to love you. And if that leads to a conversation about why I love you and what I have to look forward to after this life, then great. I will wait until you're ready to have that conversation. And I'm not saying that's the right approach. I think that God has gifted people with evangelistic qualities. I don't know that I have that necessarily. I just have an empathetic approach to life and a desire to listen. I prefer listening. Believe it or not, I talk plenty, but I actually prefer listening to people and learning other people's stories. Sometimes all we're called to do is to just listen and not try to solve, not try to help, not try to offer solutions. Sometimes just nodding up and down and saying, I feel your pain, is exactly what we're called to do. So on a set of believers and non-believers, it's not me, keeping my little list of, oh, well, we have the same faith, so I can talk to him like this, or, well, that person doesn't have the same faith as me, so I better edit what I'm going to say. No, it's not like that at all. People are people. We're all in this together, and some are ready to profess their faith, some aren't. And I'm just trying to be obedient and listen. Listen to what God wants me to do in those situations, and listening to the people that are in any number of different walks of faith. So I'm not quite where I was before. Noah did a fantastic job of editing that footage of me in the kayak out on my lake. But there was one question in particular that he wasn't able to get the wind cut out of. So my apologies to Noah. But here's the nice little bonus, is I get to finish this host introduction from the set of The Chosen here in Goshen, Utah. Right behind me, we're filming season 2. So this is kind of a neat place to end this host introduction video for Against the Tide Media. And the final question is, why would I like to volunteer my time? I tell you what, Noah is doing wonderful things. He's got such a heart for Jesus, and I do too. And I love what he's doing. I love the team that he's assembling. Just some godly men and women that all have a heart for just getting God's love into this world. And that ultimately is my goal. That's what I strive to do each and every day, whether it's through a project like The Chosen, or whether it's helping out with Against the Tide Media, or it's doing other little vlogs or posts or whatever I happen to be able to do. Now, time is the tricky part. Just for instance, I was on set yesterday, woke up at about 5:15 to get to set for breakfast at around 6, and I went to bed at midnight. And all of that time was basically spent doing stuff for The Chosen. And so when we're on set, we don't have much free time for anything. But every once in a while, I'm able to duck away. I'm far enough away that I'm able to take my mask off here. The time is the tricky part, but here's the thing. And I truly believe this. And I get actually quite frustrated and passionate when people talk about not having time to read the Bible, for instance. Not having time to pray. You know what? You have all the time that you need. You have more time than you deserve. It's about prioritizing. So turn this video off. Go read your Bible. Go pray. Go do a devotional. There's always time to do something. Don't click off this video and then keep scrolling Facebook or something else. Take time. If you haven't done that for a while, take time to spend time with God, because he just wants to be with you. He just wants you to be in his presence. And right now I feel like I am in his presence. I mean, I'm just going to give you a quick little view. I don't know if Noah's going to use this or not, but I can't. I still haven't figured out how to use my little gimbal contraption, but I mean, look at this. The mountains and the sun setting in the background. This is where I feel close to God. I mean, there's not water. I do prefer the water overall, but this is pretty amazing. All right, Noah, thank you so much for having me a part of the team, and everybody else that's out there that's supporting Against the Tide, that's supporting The Chosen. Thank you. I love you, and I appreciate you. God bless you all. The wind is starting to carry me out a little bit too far, and I'm getting nervous and I'm going to drop my phone in too deep of water. So time to start paddling back to shore just a little bit. All right, here we go again. Take 3, Noah. I laughed in episode 7, actually, which isn't a particularly funny episode, or not meant to be comical by any stretch of the imagination, but the scene with Jesus and Nico on the rooftop, and Nicodemus says, there I just tried to I started off by, listen to that, I started to say Nico, and then I decided to say the whole name, so it came out Nicodemus. Nicodemus was very funny in that scene. No, Nicodemus. Excuse me, I'm gonna burp. There we go. That felt good. We had hot dogs over a campfire for lunch today. It was delicious. It's not as good the second time around. Ranks still as my favorite Against the Tide Media interview. Sorry, I guess there's 2 questions. I keep flipping back and forth. And some are ready to profess their faith. Some are ready to profess their faith, some aren't. Hopefully this wind isn't too terrible. But the last one is the, why do I want to volunteer for Against the Tide? Alright, with that, the wind is really picked up. So here now, actually while I'm still recording, I'm just going to give you your, kind of this segue if you need it. It seemed like a great idea when I got out here, but now the wind has picked up and it's pushing me away from shore. I'm going to have to put the camera away just so I can have a little more strength in my paddling, because it's not really working right now. So if none of this worked, or if some of this worked, I'm going to go in, I'm going to send all this footage to Noah, he's going to cut it together, and he might say, Justen, you know, if you could just redo some of those, that would be great. I hate to be a bother. Could you just do some of that? Sorry, Noah, that was like an old man impression of you. That was like an impersonation of a really old man impersonating Noah. And that's actually how we do impersonations. Nobody actually impersonates the actual person. We impersonate other impersonations of them. So like Arnold, you're not impersonating Arnold, you're impersonating him. Alright, I'm done.